Welcome back for another video. In this video, we are going to be going over lesson 3D Mill lesson 11 tutorial. It's this part we have up on the screen here. So this is going to be a little bit different, kind of like the first exercise that I did in my video. I'm going to be creating a surface rather than a solid here. And we're going to be creating what's called a net surface. That net surface utilizes essentially 3D profiles to create a blended surface from. All right, so I'm going to start off by drawing my profile here, my section profiles on the ends. I'm going to do that on the right side plane, and then I'll move it to 0, 0 where I want it, and then I'll create this here profile as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's go to wireframe, and I'm going to go to right side view. I'm actually going to go to 2D here. I'm going to create this circle first. Looks like we need a 0.25 radius. And I'm not sure why that's locked. Must have been locked from earlier. Okay. Enter center point. In this case, it is a 1.25, comma, negative 0.375. Radius is 0.25. Check. And let's draw some straight lines coming out of here. 135 is going to be our dimension for our angle. And 45 is going to be our other one. So I just draw those straight up, and then I'm just going to make a line to trim them. Makes it easy. I hate it when it does that. Okay, there we go. Yeah, the trim is goofy sometimes. Okay, so there's our first profile. The fact that I'm in 2D will allow me to change my Z value, and I already have 4.625 from the last exercise that we did in there. So if I select that, I'm going to draw my next profile. So my next profile, I'm just going to draw a square for this, a rectangle actually. And we're going to draw it at 1.25, comma, 0. And it's going to be a width of 2.0, comma, and 0.75. The reason I'm doing 0.75 is because it's 0.375 from here to here. Since I did a center, I needed to double that. Let's go ahead and trim this. And that should be all the way down here. That's good. And let's add a fillet. I believe if we look at our drawing, we have 0.25 fillets on there. Okay, so that looks good. I can zoom in my video, or my, I'm getting lost here on my print. Zoomed way out. All right, select this and this. Check. Check. Okay. All right, so there's our two profiles. Now we got to create the connecting profiles. First, I am going to move this. So I'm going to translate this. X is going to be 4.625. Y is going to be negative 2.5. And I'm going to hit move and check. Okay. All right, so they're where I need them to be. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to create these two radii that are here. There's a radius here, and there's a radius here. They're tangent. So I'm going to create those first. So if I look at this, the dimension for this one in the y, if I subtract 2 inches from 2.5 and divide it by 2, that's going to give me a 1/4 inch from here to here, plus another 1/2 inch radius, so it's negative 7.5 in the y. Okay, so let's go ahead and put in our 1.0, comma, negative 0.75. And that is a 0.5 radius. Check. And then we have one at 2.0, comma, 0. Also 0.5. Hit check. Okay. Now I'm just going to connect lines with these. So right to there, and to there. Oops. Okay, so common mistake. You want to make sure that you do not have your negative in there. You got to get that out. So I'm actually just going to transform this up, but that is common. I do that a lot. 4.65. Check. All right. And let's go ahead and trim that. Okay, check. And let's go ahead and mirror. All right, so we want a negative 1.25. Looks like it was already in there actually. So there we go. Mirroring it over that plane, and we have our full profile. All right, so I'm gonna go to levels now. Oops, levels not. And call this profile. And I'm gonna create a new one for my surface. All right. And I'm working on that plane. So let's go to surfaces, and we're gonna do a net surface. Okay, so it's very important that number one, that you're not working on the C-plane. You need to be working in 3D because we're going to be working on multiple planes, selecting things on multiple planes. All this does is allows you to select things on different planes. So if I'm on C-plane, it's only going to pick things that are on my construction plane that I'm working on currently. So when I'm on, whatever plane I have selected currently, it's the only plane I'm going to be able to select stuff on. If I can actually demonstrate that. So right now, notice I can't pick this because it's not on the plane that I'm using. I'm on the top planes. I can only pick stuff that's on the top plane. So I want 3D. That's going to allow me to pick all of that stuff. All right, so if I select... Now, the other thing is very important, the order and how you select it. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to select this from the beginning, and I'm going to come from left to right here. So there we go. And I'm also going to pick my profiles first and then my guide curves second. So go ahead there and there. And now I'm going to pick these. And it doesn't matter what order I pick them in, but they have to be going the same direction. You can't pick them opposing. Otherwise, you're either going to get a really goofy surface, or it's just not going to work. It's going to give you an error, just depending on what you have there. So let me go ahead and hit check, and there is my surface. All right, so let's go ahead and look at my levels, and I'm going to turn my profile off, and I have my surface. Okay. All right, so next, let's go ahead and select our mill. Okay, and set up. I'm going to have 4.625 in, oops, that's the Y. That's 2.5. 4.625 in the X. And 1.0 in the Z. And I'm going to select that corner. And that should give me my stock. Perfect. Okay. All right, so next thing we're going to do here is we're going to rough this out using an area rough. And I'm going to change these to 0.01 to leave on for my stock. I believe your book has you leave 50 thou on. You can leave 50 thou. It's not the end of the world. I like to leave 10 thou. Let's go ahead and select our surface. And our boundary chains, we don't need that. So we're just going to include a silhouette boundary here, because all the silhouette boundary is going to do is just going to look at this silhouette of this part, and it's going to make that our boundary. And that's fine for what we're doing here. We're going to stay inside. We're going to be on center. Everything there looks good. Let's select our tools. So I need to go to the right library here. Aluminum. And bull mill, and we're going to go 80 inches a minute. Oops, 80 inches a minute at 12,000 RPM. Plunge rate, we're going to make that like 35 inches a minute. Cut parameters, everything in here looks pretty good. I know your book has you turn corner rounding off. For this, there's no corners, so I don't know why they have you turn that on. It's only for when you have sharp corners, it's going to round them over. So I'm not really sure why they have you turn them on, but we'll turn them on. Trequadial Motion. I always turn this on because it prevents the tool from just plowing full diameter into a narrow section like this. Now, we don't have very many narrow sections, but what it'll do is it'll kind of do this Trequadial motion where it'll just chip away at it as opposed to just plowing through it. I'm going to keep loop inside of region on. Transitions, helix, we'll make this 2.25. Oops, 0.25. Steep shallow, we don't need that. I'm going to change this to 1.0. Trimming is fine. Arc, 3D arc we're putting. We're not going to turn any of this on. Everything there looks good. So if we look at that, that looks like a pretty good cut. Let's go ahead and simulate that. You see that looks pretty good. Now, you may notice that it doesn't get to the bottom of this V. That's just because of the diameter of the cutter I'm using. If I wanted to use a smaller cutter, I could. But honestly, I'm not really worried about it. When I go to do my finish pass, I'm only going to be stepping over 10 thou with that ball and mill. That means even though it's taking maybe a deeper cut with it, it's only taking 10 thou on the radius of it's only taking 10 thou step over. So it's not taking much material, so you don't have to worry about it. Now, if I was extremely concerned about my surface accuracy, that profile, and or my finish, I may take a semi-finish with the flow line path, leaving material on, and then take another finish going to 0. So let's go ahead and pull that flow line up. So where's my flow line at? There it is. Let me escape out of that. No, I don't want to keep it. Let me turn this path off so I can show you how the flow line works. Flow line, select that surface. Okay, so if I select my flow line button here, what this is going to do, it's going to give me the direction that it's going to create these curves. So if I go to cut direction, I'm going to change that to this one. This is the direction that I want to be selecting. And then step is just what side it's going to start on. And then, of course, offset is what side it's offset to. I don't really care what side it starts on. I just want to make sure that I'm going longitudinal like this. Let me hit check, check. And we're going to pick a 3/8 ball mill. And we're going to run that at 100 inches a minute, 12,000 RPM, and we'll do a 35 plunge rate. I don't need to put my clearance on. All that's fine. Scallop height, I'll make that 1,000th. And I'm going to pick zigzag rather than just doing one way, so it'll actually be climb milling and conventional milling. If I was really concerned about my surface finish, if I was making this part, I may just want to put one way. Again, if I was concerned about it, I would probably leave material on here. So I would have material in here, maybe like 5-10 thou. And then I would come back and do this finish pass. And I would do a one-way, to finish this up. But I'm just going to do this. And there we go. So that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and select that. And there we go. And that is finished. So it looks good. And that's that. That's all there is to it. As always, if you have questions, feel free to ask me during class, or of course you can see me during my office hours. That's all for this video.